let's start the show.
Oh, I've seen a flying saucer.
You've seen one?
Yes,
Where was
definitely.
Unidentified aerial phenomena.
To cover up our mistakes.
I've met people who swear they've seen Bigfoot.
Join us for a journey into the obscure.
You are now listening to TheWOWpod. You could beatbox.
All right, we are here.
Welcome, welcome.
Welcome to the show. Okay, Betsy's bringing us a little bit of a Samhain.
Yeah, tonight we're going to talk about, it's spelled Samhain.
Samhain.
However,
Ooh, why did they spell it like that?
In Irish translation, it's Samhain, like Cowan, but Samhain.
So it's Cowan?
Cowan.
Okay.
Samhain.
Oh, whatever you say.
So it's actually the name of a festival.
Mm-hmm.
And it's also the name, it's November. It's the actual name for November, which is Scottish Gaelic. So Samhain is the name that they use for the month of November as well, which is interesting. But it's a festival that historically was used to mark the beginning of winter. Mm-hmm. And it is attested in some of the earliest of the old Irish literature that we have that it's from around the 10th century onward. So it's a couple thousand years old. And it's one of 4 Gaelic seasonal festivals. And Samhain...
So the 4 Gaelic seasonal festivals, it'd probably be with the 2 solstices, summer and winter. And then you'd have spring and fall.
Yes.
So this is a harvest, spring is a planting, winter is a burr, and summer is a...
yes.
Looking hot.
So it was said to be not just a festival, but like an assembly. Mm-hmm. One of the things that was really important to Irish culture was their cattle. They had large amounts of cattle, and of course, there's very little we know about, what truly took place during Samhain, because it's been kind of folklore, and then some handwritten, and then some more folklore, and then interject catechism, and then they change it a little bit, and they say, we love your celebration, it'd be nice if it was for Jesus. So we lost a little bit along the way.
Can I introduce you to a young man in sandals? Look at the beard on this young man.
However, it's thought that this is the time of year that they would likely bring their cattle in. And so you'd have this assembly, and they used it to do a lot of things. They used it to try people for crimes. They used it to punish people for things that they had done. This great assembly came together.
Wasn't that werewolf guy tried during the month of October, the one that got put on the rack or the wheel?
They were busy doing other things, trying to prepare for the harsh Irish winter.
Yeah,
and so
cull the herd. Yeah,
so Samhain was a coming together of all of these herdsmen and people, and they made it into not just an assembly, but it was also very much a festival.
Mm-hmm.
So it is in Irish mythology. It was.
Keep talking, I'll be right
it was considered to be. Samhain was considered to be the relativeness of dark and light, and it kind of transformed into also being about good and evil because of that. What they were faced with oftentimes was the idea that the sun would set much sooner, and they would get shorter days. The Irish winters were awful. And so there would be a lot of people that would also pass away.
And the music's sad.
Sad. Now, outside of that, because of its pagan origins, it was also said that it was the time that the doorways to the other world were opened, or the veil, so to speak, was thinnest.
So the ghosts could come and hang out.
So the ghosts could come and go. So now, it was suggested that because of this, they had, at some point, likely early on in this festival or this assembly, decided that they would do offerings and sacrifices to both the pagan gods as well as offerings to the family members and people that had passed. And the idea was that they would set out food and drink on their doorsteps, because whether they were on their way from the in-between worlds to heaven or purgatory, they would have to stop in this lifetime. And it was said to be for protective reasons, so that they would take the things, the offerings, and they would go on their way, and they wouldn't try to find you. Like if you had wronged them while they were alive, they wouldn't hunt you down to, take revenge.
So the ghosts wouldn't...
They would take their things, their offerings, and they would go. So part of this also was ritual bonfires. So these ritual bonfires were said to be cleansing in nature. And one interesting story I found about...
I like this, setting out offerings for the ghosts. Like, was there some shady bastard in the town that'd go around that night and get all fat and happy? So
this is how trick-or-treating was started.
What were the offerings?
In the beginning, it was normally food. So in the beginning, it was normally just food offerings. They would have these big bonfires, and they would sacrifice cattle, and they would, make bread and all kinds of things, and leave out these plated offerings to the souls that were passing through.
I heard that Ireland just recently told Subway sandwiches that their bread can't be called bread.
Why?
It has too much sugar in it. It's a confection.
That's true. I mean, so these bonfires would be lit, and it was also said that it was likely paying homage to the lack of sunlight. They would light these great big bonfires in remembrance of the burning ball in the sky that, would be seeing less and less of. So that's kind of where it started. They also did divination rituals that involved fire and a ring of stones, and in these rituals each person would gather a stone, and these stones would be laid around the fire, perhaps on a layer of ashes, and everyone would run around it with a torch, singing and exulting, and in the morning the stones were examined, and if any was mislaid, or if it was kind of toppled over or taken out of the circle, it was said it was to represent that person would not live out the year. So
you would have a stone that was yours.
Yep, everybody had a stone.
I would pick... Have you ever seen a skipping stone? We're talking
a big flat one.
Yeah, about like yonder. And I would pick one that was skipping stone looks from the top and had a spike in the bottom. And grind it in, stand up on top and hop down, and get it really in there.
Yes.
And just make it so that I'm going to make it. I'll be all right.
That's right. So this connection to the dead started right out the gate. Now, as it progressed, even prior to the Catholics coming in, and in most cases, I wouldn't say most. What the Catholics found is that it was easier to allow these pagans to keep their rituals and traditions, and kind of just get them to switch who they're doing them for. switch your, instead of the nature gods and the things that they previously would do these for, they would say, well, you really should do it for the one and true, the one and only true God.
Come unto me, my children.
Those things that swing.
Bong.
So,
come kneel before the Lord.
Even prior to that, they started developing these traditions. As traditions do, people they become more enlightened, so to speak, and as they Ryan says, just cement your rock into the circle and you're good to go. That's right.
That's a good idea. That's a good idea. I think I could handle.
So, as traditions do, when you become more enlightened, as a group of people, you include other things. So another thing that was introduced was called mumming. And mumming...
Let me guess. Hold on. Gather in a circle and or it is Ireland, correct? And that's about that far from England. So instead of saying mother, you start saying mum.
Mum.
What is mumming? Okay,
so mumming mummers can be traced back to at least 1296. And what they were performers in disguise. And this is likely where our costumes originated from, or having costumes. Now, it was said that beyond that, these mummers would show up and they would do performances for jewels or payment or things of that nature. And trick or treat, it was legitimately trick or treat.
So if you didn't hook the mummer up with
if you didn't provide the treat, you got the trick.
What were the tricks back then?
And well, some of it was cursing. They would put a curse on you, and you would have bad luck befall you the entire year. And others was part of leaving produce and things for the spirits. Is some of these mummers or people in their guise would go out and burn down your fields if you didn't give them a treat. So, what?
Sorry, I'm sending messages to your husband. It's all good.
I'm looking.
You're good. Keep going.
So, this is kind of where it all begins. But as it goes on, around the mid 1970s, there's a lot of changes. So just prior to that, the Catholics come in, and instead of Samhain, not wanting to be outdone, they make November 1st All Saints Day.
Yeah, All Saints Day. So, and then they can have Hallows Eve.
Yes. So Samhain, just because of the opposite of saints are hollows. So Samhain was the day before.
Hallows is not saints?
That's the opposite of saints.
So they made a holiday for the dregs.
Yes.
For the
and
bad boys.
Right. So the day before was Hallows Day, and then All Hallows Eve was the night before that. And so it's kind of been shortened throughout the centuries to be Halloween.
So the 31st was Bad Boys Night.
That's right.
And the 1st was Good Boys Day.
Yes. So traditionally, Halloween to us is very similar in a lot of respects than its original design. And there are a few differences. It's super commercial now. It wasn't then. It was extremely ritualistic. One thing that they did, and I actually made some.
We have cartoon toilet paper commercials. Are you telling us that we are commercializing stuff?
It's super commercialized. But one thing I did was I looked up a traditional...
All right. I'm going to do some camera adjusting.
Samhain. This is a traditional item that would have happened on Samhain. as we kind of move from the mummers, or the mumming happening in the kind of the city square, children start dressing up. And it was said that generally you did it to disguise yourself so that if you had harmed someone who had passed on, they wouldn't recognize you. Or you dressed very dark. You dressed like a demon, because when the demons came, they would see you as one of their own, and then they would move on. So these children...
So the demons go, what's up, bro?
Yeah. So these children would show up.
Now, I have seen some of the old, like, turn-of-the-century Halloween costumes. Burlap sack on the head with buttons for eyes.
Terrifying.
Oh, sweet Jeebus.
Yeah. So these children would go along house to house, and they would knock on the door, and they would be given this small round cake, which is called a soul cake. And the idea was you would be given the cake in exchange for a prayer that would release a soul from purgatory. So, somebody was a really bad dude, didn't make it into heaven, was stuck in purgatory. These soul cakes were made and passed out, and they still are in some places today. Portugal still does soul cakes. That's why I was able to find a more traditional recipe that didn't include things like, one had vinegar and dates in it, and I was like, that sounds terrible.
One eye's all twitching closed. This is delightful.
So there are places that do soul cakes on All Saints' Day as a way to offer prayers, and so the children dress up and they go from door to door collecting these soul cakes. Now, what they found was it was also people who were suffering from hunger. They would... Oh, yeah. Do y'all see that? That is not okay.
Go on. People suffering from hunger.
So people suffering from hunger would take this day to collect these soul cakes. And the soul cakes are... they're pretty shelf-stable because of their ingredients. And you can find lots of different recipes online for these in traditional recipe books.
Oh, because even the cockroaches are like, nah.
They don't taste...
You can have that. Okay,
so Cody ate a couple. He was like, these aren't the best, but, they're kind of addicting, he said, I think. So still to this day, there are places that still do this tradition of soul cakes. But another thing that these original trick-or-treaters, I guess you would call them, this is back in the day, the original trick-or-treaters would do was they would carve turnips. They didn't have pumpkins. That was not something that was grown in Ireland, and I think that it's probably still not a common produce item grown in Ireland.
So you mean to tell me they probably don't get a lot of pumpkin pie over there?
Maybe they get turnip pie. I don't know. But if you want to see something really scary, pull up these turnip carvings. So I actually brought Jared that he can start whittling on and working on. I don't know if the turnips, what kind of turnips are y'all growing over there? How do you carve these? But they would carve these and hollow them out, and they would place a burning ember into these turnips. And they would carry these turnips with them along their way. And the reason they would do that is because of a story of Jack and the lantern. So I'm going to tell you guys that story while Jared tries his soul cake. And as you eat the soul cake, you have to say a prayer for someone in purgatory.
What prayer would Jared say?
So the story of Jack-o'-lantern is it's about a guy that they called Stingy Jack.
Num chaba.
So what happened with Stingy Jack, according to the story, is Stingy Jack invited the devil himself to have a drink with him. and true to his name.
Not bad.
So
Kind of gingerbread, but you can chew it. Thing.
Yeah.
I mean, you know how gingerbread is like flavored tree bark? This you can actually chew. It's not bad.
It's not bad.
It's kind of got a spice to it.
Right. So, and they used the spices because as part of their pagan ritual, they all had purpose. So they would use the cinnamon for love, and they would use the allspice or the ingredients in allspice for their properties.
Did they use Lowry's allspice back then? Was that the...
No. That would be seasoned salt that you're thinking of.
Not bad, Betsy. Kudos to you.
They're not terrible.
All right. So as you talk...
You can start whittling away on your jack-o'-lantern. So, according to the story, Stingy Jack invited the devil himself to have a drink with him. Now, Stingy Jack was known to be... They called him stingy because he was a thief and he was a liar and he had done horrible things to the people in the communities. And Stingy Jack, true to his name, didn't want to pay for his drink. So he convinced the devil to turn himself into a coin that Jack could use to buy their drinks. And the devil, thinking that he was way smarter than Stingy Jack, did so. So Stingy Jack immediately picked him up and put him into his pocket next to a silver cross, which prevented the devil from changing back into his original form. So he remained a coin. Now, the devil eventually convinces Jack to free him. Now, Jack frees him under the condition that he would not bother Jack for 1 year. Knowing that he had probably upset the devil, he convinces him, don't bother me for 1 year and I'll free you.
You think? Had me in there next to
Yeah.
next to your wedding tackle for a month? I'm not, yeah.
So, the next year, Jack is clambering along, likely drunk, from a pub, and he runs into the devil again. And Jack once again tricks the devil into climbing into a tree to pick a piece of fruit. After this conversation, the devil's telling Jack, I'm going to take you with me. And Jack says, you know what? I'll go. Let me have one last wish. I just want this piece of fruit. You go get that for me, and then I'll go with you. So the devil climbs up there, and Jack carves the sign of the cross into the tree bark so that the devil cannot get down. So the devil again makes a deal with him. And the deal is that should Jack die, the devil would not claim his soul. So he makes the deal, and the devil promises, and he doesn't bother him. Well, it's about 10 years later, and Jack passes away. Now, Jack arrives at the pearly gates, and God says, no, sir.
You're a shyster.
You don't get to come in here. You're unsavory. You don't get to be inside heaven. So Jack goes to the devil and is like, what am I supposed to do? And the devil says, oh, I'm sorry. The deal's a deal. I said I couldn't claim your soul, so I can't. So he sends Jack off into the night with only a burning coal to light his way. Now Jack, having no other resources, stops by a farmer's field and pulls a turnip. And he hollows out the turnip and carves 2 ghostly-looking holes in the front and drops this burning ember in to light his way. And that's where the jack-o'-lantern comes from. Now, it's still often made traditionally using potatoes, or, as we've got, more traditionally, turnips. And turnips are miserable to carve.
This is not an easy carving.
So,
well, hollowing it out, I mean, I should have sharpened a spoon and not a knife.
So they, following the story of Stingy Jack, they would make their own versions of these lanterns, and they would carve scary faces into them and place them into the windows or near doors to frighten away Stingy Jack and any other wandering spirits. So that's the history. Now, when it came to the Americas, we had a lot of, not as much Scottish, but we had a lot of Irish immigrants. And they brought with them all of these traditions. And it kind of seeped out, from New York and San Francisco into the surrounding areas, and it's taken on its own life here in the United States. And one of the first things they did was change to pumpkins.
Before we go on, we have some news, and I will continue to carve this throughout the day, but we need to have some
throughout
news.
the day.
Or throughout the night. All right. Let me get this turned on for you. So, in Louisiana, an 11-year-old stole a school bus and took it on a high-speed chase.
I saw the video of that.
We have a story.
He's been watching way too much GTA.
Oh, this kid was awesome.
I'm like going to be concerned about Tucker.
An 11-year-old kid nabs a bus. The cops go on a high-speed chase. Wild ride didn't happen during school hours. According to WAFB, the incident occurred during the morning hours of Sunday, October 11th. The bus was taken from Progress Head Start, where the bus was parked for unknown reasons. So it was probably there because bus driver lived close by, wanted to get an early start for Monday. The report states that the bus belonged not to the area school district, but a private owner who subcontracts for Head Start. Well, that's why it was there. Why'd you say you didn't know? The bus reportedly had a push start feature that apparently was unsecured. Whether or not the bus owner could face charges unknown at the time. The kid jumped behind the wheel around 11 a.m. and
he's like this.
Literally went to town. Yeah, those bus steering wheels are massive.
You can't even see out the window.
And the chase covered several areas and lasted around 30 minutes.
No. I'd whip your butt, man.
Oh, let's see if we can play a little extension video. Oh, there he goes. Check him out. Oh, lady.
Oh, he is cooking. You see him? He is booking it in that.
We'll do a little
This is
more.
the one I saw.
Man, okay, this is where he kind of he kisses a tree, and that's what finally stops him.
He's trying to.
He's off-roading the bus. He's.
I mean, what do you think he's thinking right now?
This kid and this bus on the cover of Peterson Four-Wheel and Off-Road. Seriously, check him out. Oh, he's brawling.
I love the
bus.
background music playing. Dun, dun, dun.
Oh, you know that guy's just jamming out on his way to work, or it's Sunday on his way to church. I got soul.
Yeah, what is he listening to? Yeah.
I don't know, but that's a good time. Now here's some pictures of the bus. What it
Look
looks
how
like.
little he is. Did they
he
handcuff
rubbed up against
him?
the tree. Yeah, he's a tiny little dude.
Why did you? They didn't handcuff him, did they?
I don't know. Probably. Look at him. 11.
He's just little.
He's a little feller. But anyways, nobody was harmed. No people were harmed.
You know,
in the
he's
making.
he's going to have the best stories when he gets older.
I'm telling you, that is.
One time when I was 11.
I hope he's not in too much trouble.
Oh, poor guy.
That is awesome. That is awesome. All right, Betsy, go on.
So, as it is brought over to the United States, to the Americas, by the immigrants, it starts to take on a new light. So we're keeping a lot of the traditions, but a few things are changing. And in most places, it was referred to as Mischief Night and not Samhain. It was kind of frowned upon. You know, the Irish immigrants weren't treated very well. They often had the least amount of amenities and were packed into really tiny housing and really disgusting neighborhoods. And most of them really did pull themselves up by their bootstraps and make very good lives for themselves. But part of that kind of discrimination was not taking the name Samhain, which would have been really cool if they had. So they'd called it Mischief Night.
The Irish did?
That's what it was called in the United States. So we take on the traditions, but we kind of changed the name originally to Mischief Night. And in the Great Lakes region, it was called Devil's Night. Now, in parts of New Jersey, it was called Goosey Night. Now, Baltimore, Maryland, it was traditionally referred to as moving night, because what these kids would do is they would go out and exchange porch furniture amongst houses. Like, you wake up with some other dude's porch furniture. So they called it.
So the day before you're, come on, I hope it's to the right. I hope it's to the right. I don't want that bastard on the left side. I don't want his stuff. His stuff's all burned out. The guy on the right's got new wicker stuff. I want that.
Yeah. So in Detroit, particularly hit hard by Devil's Night, arson and vandalism through the 1980s was rampant. There was so much laws and so many things being done on this mischief night that they called Devil's Night, that they actually had 40,000 volunteer citizens to patrol the city, which they would be out there from October 29th through the 31st, just to kind of try and, quell some of that. Now, this is where the American trick-or-treating comes from. They kept the mumming, they kept the trick-or-treat, but what they did is everyone kind of all came together, and this is around the Great Lakes region, and they said, okay, this isn't working. These kids, these young adults are out of control. Let's do something good. Let's turn this around.
Everybody make some cakes.
So they said, let's do it with sugar. If they don't do any tricks, they can come to your house and get a treat. And that's where we got trick-or-treating from. Now, there was a group that took this to the next level. Let me pull up their story. And they actually made it into something really, really great. So, I think it's in Maryland. In Maryland, there was a group of kids that got together, and instead of getting candy, they collected donations for a local charity.
Good job, kids.
And they collected so many donations that they really changed kind of the face of Halloween. And it became not a scary time, but it moved it more towards a time of service, which was pretty cool.
That's outstanding.
So we did lose some of the spooky stuff along the way, which I think people are, starting to reinvent. I think as the world is kind of moving in that direction. In the
unspooky way?
Into the spooky way again. We're becoming more esoteric. We want to explore, the spooky that is around us. Or maybe it's just me. Could just be me.
I know that you and I both enjoy this subject quite a bit.
Yes. So, neo-paganism, or the neo-pagans, the reborn paganist movement, spend a lot of time, doing the rituals of Samhain, doing the soul cakes, carving the turnips, building altars.
Yeah, so they, 3 days, carve a turnip?
Building altars. Providing offerings, doing all of those things. They still do all of those things. But they also, I was watching, there's a group of Wiccans that, they do their updates online on what they're doing, and most of them do cleansing. What they see this as is the death of like the trees and the crops and the actual ground, but it's the rebirth of the new year. So it's the infancy stage of what is to become, and so they use it as a really good cleansing time.
Kind of the gestation time.
Yes, and one of the things that they they do as well is these bonfires are not, they're not done for rituals, but they're done for cleansing, and they're called bonfires. And the idea is you give to the fire the things that no longer serve you. And metaphorically, obviously, you don't, toss in your Roku or whatever. This thing's crap. But metaphorically, you give to the fire the things that no longer serve you. So I think there's lots of cool things that we can take from the origins of Samhain.
Yeah,
the actual, Gaelic origins, and make into, something really cool. So one of the other things that's often practiced, and I thought it would be cool to go to one, it's called a dumb supper. And
well, so you inviting yourself over? Is this how it works?
Jessica, thanks. Jessica says, interesting show. It is an interesting subject. So the dumb supper is a feast with the dead, and it's often, or most often, held during Samhain, or the opposite of Samhain, which would be in the spring.
Okay.
So
Easter.
Yes. Now, although traditionally a seance is a good way to communicate with those who have crossed into the spirit world, a dumb supper is an interesting idea. And it's known as a dumb supper, not because, this is stupid, but because you don't speak.
Oh.
And you never look. You set a place, you put out a place setting for your loved ones that have passed on.
Really?
And it invites them to join. And you sit in calm and peace and communicate that way with them. You never speak. And they say you also never look at the seat. That's where I'd go wrong. It'd be over. They say that if you look at the seat, then they leave. You scare them away. So it's a silent occasion. Every adult is to bring a note to the dinner. The note's contents are kept private, and it's what they wish to say to their deceased friends or relatives. And then you set a place at the table for each guest, and you reserve the head of the table for the place of the spirit. So, see? You did it.
We need a little light.
So you've got to put that in your window.
Okay.
Because that...
And then I've got to stand for it as well.
Yeah, look at that. That wards off evil spirits that are passing through.
Old Jack the Scrooge.
Yes.
Jack McStingy.
So during this dumb supper, it's candlelit, and you shroud the spirit chair in black or white cloth, and no one may speak the entire time. From the time they enter the dining room, Grace could never do a dumb supper. She would blow it right out the gate. So as you enter the room, you take a moment to stop at the spirit chair and offer a silent prayer for the dead. Once everyone is seated, you join hands and take a moment to silently bless the meal. Now, I think, Jessica says, that would be interesting to try. I think it would be really interesting to do a dumb supper. It doesn't make for a good podcast, though. I thought about it. Welcome to the podcast.
Welcome to the virtual dumb supper.
So once you're seated, you join hands and you take a moment to silently bless the meal. And then the hostess, who should be seated directly across from the spirit chair, serves the meal to the guests in order of age. And no one should eat until all guests, including the spirit, are served. So they shroud the chair and they serve the spirit exactly what everyone else is eating. And once everyone has been served, then they can eat. But it's all done in silence.
Dead silent, and you don't look at the chair.
You can't look at the chair.
Because if you look at the chair, it scares them off.
Yes.
All right, another news story.
All right, let's do it.
So, this one is, for obvious reasons, one of my favorite. This story takes us to the Florida in England.
Oh, England's Florida. I was like, of course it's Florida.
It's just England.
England's Florida.
Okay. 5 parrots are separated at a British zoo after encouraging each other to curse profusely at guests.
No. They're like toddlers.
So they're gray parrots. Let's see if we can play a little video of the parrots talking.
When pets were given the
Go
choice
through
between
a
paying more
commercial,
with cable
obviously. Sometimes we'll keep talking about it. And then once the commercial's done, because it's... So British Wildlife Sanctuary has been forced to separate 5 parrots who wouldn't stop swearing at visitors. Keepers say the birds encourage each other to keep cursing and had to be moved from the main outdoor aviary. Billy, Eric, Tyson,
You can't discipline them. They're birds.
Jade, and Elsie were removed from view this week. Okay.
You have to do a you have to do a disclaimer before you enter. We're sorry.
All right. Okay, this is... Why do you have beatbox? Anyway, so these gray parrots, let's see if we can listen to
Kiss? Can you toot? That's gross.
Birds are terrifying.
Yeah.
How about some animal sounds? Can you do a red wolf? How about an owl? With the pretty songbirds?
So this is the type of bird. This is not the offending bird, correct?
So this is
Can you do a
Einstein.
horse?
This is a cute little bird who has
How
good
about a baby who's
manners.
on a diet?
Didn't bite Betsy on the cheek when she was
Did
little.
not. I hate birds. I've got PTSD from birds.
Can you fall down?
But they're birds like this that are
Yes.
cussing.
They are just like this bird.
They're so smart.
Yes. Billy, Eric, Tyson, Jade, and Elsie were removed from view this week.
They're all feeding off each other. Say it! Say it!
They recently joined the Lincolnshire, the Florida Shire Wildlife Center's colony of 200 African gray parrots in August. They were put into quarantine together and quickly overwhelmed the staff with their naughty language. How do the British say naughty?
You got to put him in there with, what's his name, that chef?
Oh, the British cat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he could handle them birds.
Yeah.
They would just
Oh,
cuss
I'm
back.
sure he could.
Yeah.
I'm sure he could.
They were overwhelmed by their cussing. I can't handle it.
We were quite used to the parrot swearing, but we've never had 5 at the same time.
Oh, hell.
Steve Nichols told the AP.
Yeah, I had 3 boys.
Most-
One right after the other. I getcha.
Most parrots climb up outside, but for some reason, these 5 relish it. The parrot tells you to F off. I'm telling you, that would be why I would go
Say
to
it again. Oh, no.
Look at this. Look at that parrot coming up to you, telling you
F
to
off.
get bent.
Oh, no. Oh, that's another thing.
See, here's what he's worried about. He's worried about
If they're going to
teaching them,
teach the other birds.
the other 250 birds to curse.
Can you imagine?
Oh,
I hadn't even thought about that. They do learn from one another.
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
Yeah, you little shits.
That's fantastic.
It's like having toddlers.
Oh,
So let's get to a couple of these before we finish up.
yes. Let's go.
Jessica says, I think that would be something interesting to try because I miss my mom very much. I'm sorry to hear that.
Yes, we do too.
We know what you're going through. And you can hold these dumb suppers by yourself. You can look it up online and set it up yourself. It doesn't have to be a large
Why are
group
you
of
calling
people.
it a dumb supper? I prefer a dumb dinner. We're in Utah. We call
Okay.
it dinner here.
Okay.
But yes, yeah, that would be fun.
So Moon Spelling says, I love the cakes and the carving. You should try it, Moon.
Yeah.
Jared's an excellent turnip carver. We're going to add that to his
Apparently,
resume.
I have reached levels of new skillery. I even have the little hat on top of it, as you can see.
Yes.
You can't pull it off. You got to tip it off. But I'm going to actually...
We're going to put it in the window.
I'm going to put a little candle in it and put it in the window.
Yes.
And we're going to see how it looks. And then I used my maiden whittle out as a stand, so it'll stand it up.
Look at that.
You can tilt
He's
it.
an expert carver.
Yes.
We're gonna send this show off with one of the last things that I
Yes.
read about Samhain tradition, and this was more Roman tradition. They did bob for apples and things for that, or things like that. And normally that was to find your soulmate.
Ooh.
However, this is to tell your fortune. So
Bobbing for apples was to find your soulmate?
yes. So if you bobbed and recovered the apple of, a suitor in the room, that was your soulmate.
Really?
Yes.
Really? So the Roman pagans.
Yes.
So that's how they lined up dates. I know the Romans had a festival, like a dating festival that went on.
Everything with them was
And that's
about
where-
sex.
That's kind of where St. Valentine
the
steps in, 'cause-
entire freaking Roman Empire was built on freaking pornography. So here's what you do. You peel a tart apple. I'm guessing a green apple qualifies as that.
Okay.
But you want it one continuous peel.
Okay.
And then your fortune is in the pill.
Oh,
You
boy.
you interpret your fortune from the pill.
Yeah?
I used to watch Grandpa carve these apples,
Mhm.
and he was an expert at
Oh.
getting them off in one.
Well, do you
Long-
remember the wooden chains he'd
Yes.
make? And
I wonder if he ever told Grandma's
the
fortune.
balls in cages.
Jane, this is what your fortune says. Can you imagine? So they would do these fortune telling rituals where they would get these apples and you drop it on the floor. Once you peel it, you drop it on the floor, and then it tells you use your
So you
intuitiveness,
drop
Jared.
it and it goes, hey, you're going to still be broke and ugly.
And then you use your
Did you hear that?
intuition to read what your apple peel is telling you.
Oh,
That's how you do it.
okay. Well,
Yeah, that's how you do it.
I'm fitting to do it right about now. So, Jessica Gray says, I'm actually from Utah, moved to Alaska almost 4 years ago. What took you up to Alaska?
I want to go to Alaska.
Uh-huh.
We must.
Not like now.
No. Well,
Um,
depending on where you're at, it may
May,
be pretty dark right now.
can I come visit you in 7 to 8 months?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. There it is.
There.
One,
Okay.
continue.
The fortune pill.
Okay. So now what? I just drop it on the ground?
Drop it on the floor.
Okay.
Now,
You ready?
oftentimes it was used to give you the first initial of the first name of your
I
soulmate.
need to make sure I kind of do this on camera, I guess.
So let's see who your
It's going to say mine's an audible pill. You're ugly and your mom dresses you funny.
yours speaks. Okay, what is it? What does it look like?
Well,
Oh,
let's just
it kind of looks like a C.
a C.
A C. Is that a C?
I don't know.
Okay, so if
It looks like a snake.
okay, so if you were to read your fortune, let's look up what the snake means.
Oh, goody, Jared. You got a snake.
Well, I think it does kind of look like a coiled up snake. So, the totem meaning of snake, let's look that up and see if we can make some correlation. Snake spirit animals represent healing,
Uh-huh.
transformation,
Uh-huh.
primal energy,
Uh-huh.
and spiritual guidance.
Uh-huh.
That's what your future holds for you. Now we
So
know.
primal healing, huh?
Yes.
Okay, so Jessica says, one of my sisters lived up here, and I needed a new start in life with my kids. Come visit Alaska. The best time is between May and August.
Yes.
I would love to come up there between May and August.
Yes.
December.
What show could we do from Alaska? Hey, Bigfoot.
Oh, yeah.
We could go Bigfoot hunting and get lost.
So April, we go up to Oregon or Washington, hit the Bat Squatch, and
the
then
Bat
drive on
Squatch.
up to Alaska.
Has anyone heard of the Bat Squatch?
That's an upcoming
We've got to
show.
do a show on the bats.
Yes.
It's a thing. It's an actual state cryptid. Is Oregon the Bat Squatch?
Washington.
Washington.
Well, Washington, Oregon.
That's
I think
cute.
what happened is they got overwhelmed with Bigfoot, and so they said, all right, Bat
Make
Squatch
him
it.
fly so people won't keep coming up here.
We'll just Bat Squatch it. Yeah, good show.
Yeah.
Good show.
Samhain. Samhain.
All right, anybody? Any other questions, comments?
Thanks for joining tonight, guys.
Things you want to leave on the cutting room floor?
Yes.
Yeah, Ryan said that'd be cool. You're talking about the bat squatch hunt. I know. I'm digging it. I'm smelling what you're stepping in.
Ryan's totally into finding bat squatch. He's right now, as we speak, he's Googling bat squatch.
Yep, bat squatch.
I called it.
It's one of our one of our friendly cryptids.
Yeah.
And Ryan, I will be dressed up for the 24th hunt.
As will I.
I have my costume already.
Yes. It does need to go to the groomer, though.
It's a shedding bastard.
Yeah.
Anyways, but yeah, everyone, thanks for joining us. Hey, thank you, Jessica.
Yeah,
thank you very much. If you can, jump onto YouTube or the podcatchers, wherever.
iTunes.
Give us
on iTunes.
A rating and a like. That kind of, all that stuff that kind of drives the show forward so that we get more people watching. And if you have any shows or anything you want to comment, or if you'd like to come on the show.
If you have a scary story.
Call us. We're
doing a creepypasta.
Yeah,
I have 3.
We have 3. We kind of want to get 5, but if we have to run with 3, we run with 3. I just find extra news that way.
I'll read them really
I know how
slowly.
to make fillers. And this one time.
That's how we'll do it.
Heck yeah, but definitely we're looking for more shows to fill the coffers. And I'm hoping we get more guests in. Those are some of my ultimate favorites there.
And if you have not yet, go get signed up to go do this ghost hunt at the Benson Grist Mill.
The 24th, we've got a Benson Grist Mill.
We're gonna have a blast.
Well, we don't have it. We're just
going.
We're gonna podcast before it from location. We're gonna set up a little table and booth. We're bringing some swag to throw into their ticket sales and to, raffle off. We're bringing some swag, some shirts, hats,
other stuff.
Our exciting attitudes, bad jokes. I mean, if I'm there,
Jared's stunning jokes.
I might even do some singing. I kind of want to get one of those.
Yeah, did anyone catch his singing at the beginning? Go back, check it out.
But thanks for joining us. Jessica, too bad you're not local right now, but hopefully
we'll be live that night.
Yeah, we'll be going live. But and I would love to do a show in Alaska. I'd love to do a traveling show, and I need to catch a fish in that state. Fulfill the stuffs. But yes, thank you for joining us, everyone. I hope everyone has a wonderful week and everything else. And she has cousins that run the Youper Paranormal.
Yes, I follow Youper. That's where you found us. I posted it there tonight.
Outstanding. All right.
I follow their stuff religiously.
Outstanding.
We need to get them. We need to get in touch with them. Maybe we'll reach out through you and get in touch with them. I'd like to do some interviews on their crazy ghost hunts.
Ooh,
they're like the real deal. Youper Paranormal. If you have not found them on Facebook, they are the real deal. They do these amazing ghost hunts, kind of like our Hidden Realms guys here. Mm-hmm. They're not local, though. And she does a lot of videos and things on Youper Paranormal, so check them out.
I'm hoping that we can bring Hidden Realms some more recording and stuff. I'm hoping we can help them grow. They're a great bunch of people. And let's build these different paranormal groups across the nation, just
like just
for the fun of
it.
A
network.
Mm-hmm.
We got to get Ryan to be our bat squatch resident expert.
Yeah.
All
right. Thank you so much, guys. Hopefully, we'll see you again next week. And we love doing this show. And
have a great week.
Yes. Check us out on all the stuffs.
sign of fuel. Why does it feel? Not a sign of fuel.